Okay, so I'm sharing the next method in transportation problem. Okay, and we will learn a different method. So far, we have learned two methods, and one is your northwest corner, and one is the least cost method. And we have seen that the allocation method or allocation rule is same in both the methods. On the only change is the selection of the allocating cell, or the selection of the cell to be allocated. Okay, and in RAM also you will see the same thing. You will see that the allocation process is same, allocation methods is same. That means how much to assign, where how much to assign and how much to strike off, that will be same, but the cell to be selected for allocation, that process will change here again. Okay, in your screen you can see the VAM's entire steps of solving the transportation problem. This is called Vogel's approximation method. Okay, popularly known as VAM. This is the most popular method in transportation problem. All right, here the steps are being explained. I will not explain the steps, rather I will show you an example, and we will do the example in the class itself. And these steps will be there with you in case you stop practicing, and after so many days you forgot the steps. You can see this theory portion so that you remember the steps. Okay, so I'm not going through all these steps. Rather I will show you one example, and you will solve also in your copy at the same time, so that it becomes clearer all at once. Okay, so no need to write the question. You leave some space for it, and after the class you will write the question in your copy as well. Okay, now you see, this is a transportation problem given, and you are asked to find the initial basic feasible solution by using VAM. All right. Now, when you receive a transportation problem, we all know by now that the very first step that the very first step in transportation problem is to see whether the problem is a balanced one or not, and whether there exists a feasible solution or not to the problem. So in this sum, you can see both the sides are giving you a total of 950. So that means the total of demand side and the total of supply side is same. That's why the problem is a balanced one. So you will first, in solution, you write this line. Okay. In the solution part, in the first line, you write like this. Since summation ai, all of you write down in your copy. Okay, you write, since summation ai equals to summation bj equals to 950, since summation ai equals to summation bj equals to 950, comma, the problem is balanced. You write this line, this first line in the solution part that you can see, you write this line. The problem is balanced and there exists a feasible solution to the problem. Since summation ai equals to summation bj equals to 950, the problem is balanced and there exists a feasible solution to the problem. Okay, you will write this line and then you make the first allocation box. No need to write the second paragraph. Make the first allocation box. Do not write the circled and the striked off things. You just bring all the things from the question and make bigger boxes for the first allocation. Okay, you prepare this same table just like the question which you can see on your screen. Same table you will make, but you will make a little bit of bigger boxes. Okay. Done? Have you done the first allocation table? Have you made the structure? Just like the question you will make, but the boxes will be a little bit bigger one in order for writing the circled numbers. I hope it is done. Shall I continue? Can I continue rather? Is it done? Preparing the first allocation table?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Now all of you listen to me properly. Okay. What I'm saying, listen to me properly. These are the method steps for solving the transportation problem with BAM. Now listen to me. Okay. What you have to do is, after writing the supply column in your first allocation table, you will make another column. Quickly make another column and name it as P1. Name it as P1, capital P1. After the supply column, make another column and name it as P1. Similarly, after the demand column, make another column and name it as P1. Same. P1, P1 for both the rows and the columns. Okay. Now, what you have to do is, I'm talking about the column part first. I'm talking about the columns P1 first. Okay. What you have to do is now you will write the difference. Listen to me very properly. Okay. You will write the difference between the lowest and the second lowest number in the first row under P1. I'm talking about the P1 which you have written after supply column. In that column, you are when you want to fill up the first box under P1, what will you write? You will write the difference between the least cost and the second least cost. Okay. So you see in the first row, the least cost is 11 and the second least cost is 13, right? 13 and 11 are the second least cost and the least cost in this first row, that is O1. Thus, corresponding to O1 under P1 in the column side I am talking, you will write 2. Why you are writing 2? Because you are subtracting the least cost from the second least cost. That means you are doing 13 minus 11. That is you get 2. Okay. So for O1 row, the difference between the lowest cost and the second lowest cost is 2. That is what you will write in the first box under P1 in the column side. Okay. Similarly, for O2 row, what will be the difference? The lowest cost is 10 in this row. In O2 row, the lowest cost is 10. And the second lowest cost is 14. So 14 minus 10, you write 4. Under P1 in the second box, you write 4. Okay. Similarly, what will we write in O3 row? What will you write in O3 row's difference? These P1s are the difference. Okay. These P1s are the difference between the lowest and the second lowest cost in that particular row or in that particular column. For both the sides, we will have to do it. Okay. You are writing P1 in both the sides. That means after supply also you are writing P1 and after demand also you are writing P1. So in both the sides you will have to write the difference between the second lowest and the lowest cost. By ignoring the negative sign, you will not mention negative sign because that subtraction is the lowest cost from the second lowest cost. So it should be always positive. Okay. So 13 minus 11 in O1 row. For O2 row, it will be 14 minus 10, that is 4. And O3 row, it will be 13 minus 10, that is 3. Similarly, we will do the same thing for the column side. In column side, for the D1 column, the lowest cost is 11 and the second lowest cost is 16. So 16 minus 11, that is 5 we will write. Corresponding to P1 in the row side, in the first box, you will have to write 5. That is 16 minus 11. That is the difference between the second lowest cost and the lowest cost in the column D1. Similarly, for D2 column as well, you will write the difference between the second lowest and the lowest cost. Second lowest cost is 18 and the lowest cost is 13. So 18 minus 13, you will write 5. Then for D3 column, second lowest cost is 14 and the lowest cost is 13. So 14 minus 13, you will write 1. Lastly, for D4 column, the second lowest cost and the lowest cost are both same. They are giving you same numbers. So 10 minus 10, you will write 0. Understood? If anyone has not understood, please unmute and ask me right now. Or else I'll move ahead. If there is any doubt in this calculations of P1, please ask me. So I am assuming that you have understood and moving ahead, okay? So after finding this difference for both the row sides and the column sides, excuse me, and the column sides, next step is to find out the highest difference. Next step is to identify the highest difference from both the column and the row side. You have to compare both the columns P1 and the rows P1, okay? And then you will have to check that which is the highest difference. So in the first allocation table, you can see the highest difference is 5 and 5 is there for both column D1 and D2, right? Both are giving 5. Both the columns difference, that is D1 and D2 columns difference, are giving you the same number. In this case, arbitrarily you can select any one, just like the least cost method, okay? So here, let us do with the first one. We will always select the first one arbitrarily, okay? That will be our arbitration method, okay? So first number is 5, that is in D1, that one we will select, right? So when we are selecting this, then we in that column we will have to see that which one is the least cost, which one is the lowest cost, that we will have to see. Okay, in the steps also it is written, you can refer to it in case you find any difference. In the selected row or column, find out the cell having the least cost. In the step 3, we have to find out the cell which is having the least cost in the selected row or selected column. We have seen that the selected column in this first allocation, the selected column is D1. From D1, we will have to see which cell is having the least cost. In D1, the least cost is in O1 D1, right? The least cost is in O1 D1, which is 11. Am I clear? in the selected column is D1 for us now. From this selected column, we will have to check which is the lowest cost in this column. So the lowest cost in this column is 11. So we will do the allocation in this cell, that is O1 D1. We will do the allocation in the cell O1 D1. Okay. So how will we allocate? The allocation rule is same. We will have to compare the row total and the column total, which is falling in this particular cell. The row total is 250 and the column total is 200, right? So out of 200 and 250, we will allocate how much? Tell me how much we will allocate out of 200 and 250?
200.
200, because 200 is the lowest out of these two. So we are allocating 200 in this cell O1 D1, right? So when we are allocating 200, that means we are exhausting this entire 200 in the first column, and we are exhausting 200 out of 250. That is, we will strike off 250 in this first row total and write 50 here. I hope you can see my arrow. Follow the arrow and strike off 250 and write 50, because out of 250, 200 has been allocated. Right? Now, since we are exhausting the first column's entire demand side or entire column total, we are exhausting. So we will omit this column in our second allocation. We will omit this column in our second allocation. Alright, so you see in the second allocation, in the right hand side of your screen, the second allocation heading, you make the table. Now you will not write D1, because D1's total 200 has been completely exhausted in the cell O1 D1, right? So we will no longer write D1 column. Please prepare the table for this second allocation. And in the column side, you will write D2, D3, D4. In the row side, you will write O1, O2, O3. Rows are all there. One column has been omitted. Okay? Quickly make this one. Okay, have you written the second allocation table? So you will write D2, D3, D4, O1, O2, O3, and the costs will be same. It will be 13, 17, 14, 18, 14, 10, and 24, 13, and 10. Row wise I told, okay. And under the supply column, you will write 50 for the first one, because out of 250, 200 was allocated. So left is 50. That you will write here, 50. Then as usual, nothing has been exhausted other than the 200. So you will write for O2, you will write 300, and for O3, you will write 400. All right. Now, in the same way that we did in the first allocation, we will prepare P2 and P2 now. Okay, since it is the second allocation's difference column and difference row, we will be preparing. So we will write P2 and P2 in both the column side and the row side. After supply, you will write P2, and after demand also, you will write P2. All right. Now, what will we do? We will do the same thing as we did in first allocation. We will find out the difference. Let us go by the row side first. So let us find out the difference between the lowest cost and the second lowest cost in the O1 row. The lowest cost is 13 and the second lowest cost is 14. So 14 minus 13, that is 1. We will write 1. Next, in the second row O2, the lowest cost is 10 and the second lowest cost is 14. So we write 14 minus 10, that is 4. In the third row, that is O3, the lowest cost is 10 and the second lowest cost is 13. So 13 minus 10, we will write 3. We will write 3 here. Then come to the column size difference calculations. For P2, in the column D2, what are the difference? Lowest cost is 13, second lowest cost is 18. So 18 minus 13 will be 5. This will remain same like the first one. Then in the second column, the lowest cost is 13, second lowest cost is 14. So 14 minus 13, you will write 1. Similarly, for the third column, that is D4, we will write 10 minus 10, that is 0. Right? Now again, we can see that the highest difference out of this column sides and the row sides is 5, right? Is 5. So we will select this column for allocation. And how to select the cell in which the quantities will be allocated? We will have to select the cell having the least cost. In this column D2, the least cost cell is O1 D2, which is having 13. Hai O1 D2. So we will allocate in this cell O1 D2. How much will we allocate? We have 50 on the row total and we have 2 to 5 on the column total. Lowest is 50. So we will allocate 50 in this cell and put a circle in this allocation. Okay. So this 50 will get exhausted. We will strike off 50. In the O1 total, we will strike off 50. Nothing is left out of 50. And in the column total, out of 2 to 5, 50 has been allocated. So the left is 175. Isn't it? 175. So it's done. In the second allocation, what will you omit? Which row or which column will you omit? Unmute and tell me. In the second allocation, which row or which column? O1. O1 will be omitted because in O1's total 50 has been completely exhausted. So nothing is left. So in the third allocation, we will omit O1 and it will be simply O2, O3 and columns were same. Just like the second allocation, they will remain same. They will be D2, D3, D4. And supply side and demand side, write the numbers by considering the last allocation. This is how you should proceed. Okay, you will go on doing like this. I want you all to finish this at home after the classes. Okay, this is same technique. You have, if you have understood these two allocations, then you have understood RAM. Nothing more than this is there in RAM. Okay, so you will go on doing the process just like it, and you will see in the last allocation this has been done, and finally you will write the initial basic feasible solution. Finally, you will write all the allocations in a single table like we did yesterday also in least cost method, right? So this one has to be done. I want you all to finish this sum in your home. Please finish it, okay? Any doubt, you please ask by the time I am taking your attendance. Respond on your names. Abhijit, Abhishna,
Present, ma'am.
Abhishna, Anurag, Aryan, Ashish,
Yes, ma'am.
Ashmita, Bibechna.
Ma'am, present.
Who is this? Aryan,
Yes, ma'am.
Bibechna, Debrupa, Harshita. Harshita, you're understanding transportation problem.
Ma'am, I'll have to check the book also.
Ishika Chaudhary,
Present, ma'am.
Ishika Agarwal, Kajal,
Present, ma'am.
Kasak,
Present, ma'am.
Kushi,
Present, ma'am.
Prizan, Mahima,
Present, ma'am.
Mamta,
Present, ma'am.
Muskan Prasad,
Yes, ma'am.
Muskan Gupta,
Yes, ma'am.
Namrata, Nidhi,
I'm Namrata present.
yes, Nidhi, Nidhi, Nitesh, Parnadeep, Pavan, Prashil, Pratiksha Chhetri,
Present, ma'am.
Pratiksha Giri, Priyanka,
Present, ma'am.
Pooja,
Present, ma'am.
Rahul, Rajat, Ramkrishna,
Present, ma'am.
Rohit Bansal, Rohit Pandey,
Present, ma'am.
Sagar, Salina, Shalini,
Present, ma'am.
Shruti, Siddhant, Saurav, Shobhit,
Yes, ma'am. Present, ma'am.
Supriya,
Yes, ma'am.
Present, ma'am. Present, ma'am.
Suraj,
Present, ma'am.
Swayam,
Present, ma'am. Present, ma'am.
Tanya, Vinit.
Ma'am.
Ma'am, Saurabh present.
Ma'am, Nidhi present.
Okay, fine.
Ma'am, present also. Present also.
Okay. You are
Ma'am,
sleeping or
Saurabh
what?
also.
Okay, fine.
Ma'am, present. Ma'am, present.
Very good, very